Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the founder of Food Truck Training Group on Facebook, co-owner with my beautiful wife, Melissa, of our own food truck. It's called Food Truck 101, and I'm the executive director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, which is a nonprofit dedicated to education, advocacy, and uplifting all food vendors. Today, I'm going to be talking about that phrase you may have heard, and it's called being a jack of all trades. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys that I'm going to be in Orlando, Florida this year on November 12th and 13th. I'm going to be a part of the Food Truck Owners Expo. I'm going to be giving 3 classes there, one on writing a profitable menu, one on marketing in the off-season, and then one on how we as food vendors need to learn to speak with a single voice so we can make positive changes in our own industry. So again, that's in Orlando, Florida, November 12th and 13th. Go to ftoexpo.com, place your order for those tickets today, and when you do, put in the code FTTG15 for a 15% discount. I want to thank Table Needs for sponsoring this episode of the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. Table Needs is a full-service POS system capable of handling your busy food truck cash, credit card, and reporting needs. Check out the link in the description for more information about Table Needs. So let's answer that question. What exactly is a jack of all trades? My dad used to say that. Bill, you don't want to be a jack of all trades. And essentially what that means is you have a little tiny bit of knowledge about a whole different bunch of subjects. While that's quite handy if you play trivia games, it's not real beneficial if you want to start your own business and be successful. One of the things that my dad did when he was growing up was he loved cars. He loved learning all about cars and automotive engines and that kind of thing. And my dad will readily admit that he just barely got out of high school. As soon as he got out of high school, he started working for an auto parts company. It was NAPA, N-A-P-A. And that, of course, stands for National Auto Parts Association, and my dad worked for them his entire life. It's the only job he ever had. He worked as a counter salesman, a road salesman, store manager, but that was the only job he ever had for that one single company. Dad would come home sometimes and would talk about somebody that would come in and explain something to him about cars, and he could talk about cars for hours, but that was really the only subject he knew a lot about. He was a very simple man. He loved baseball. We watched the Cincinnati Reds every time they were on TV, and we went to see a number of games while Dad was alive, but essentially that was his life. He came home from work, watching TV, go to sleep, go to work the next morning. And he did that, again, 33 years, all the way up until he passed away. But he often would tell me, don't be that jack of all trades. You need to know a little bit, but don't be a jack of all trades. Focus on something and be really, really good at it. I'll give you an example. We were building onto our house. We had a small patio that Dad wanted to enclose. So we went to the lumber yard, got all the 2x4s and all that kind of stuff to completely enclose that patio. We installed a door. We installed a window. And we did all that fairly easily. It didn't look perfect, but it was done. But the one thing that we tried to do, both Dad and I could not get, is we matched the siding that was on the house. It was a fiberboard siding, so it was 8 feet long strips of wood that had to be placed, and then they overlapped each other all the way up to the roof. Problem was when we went to cut out where the window was. We'd put up as much of the siding as we possibly could, and we get to the part where we've got to cut out where the window goes. Measured it twice like they say, and we cut it out. When we go to put it up, didn't work. It was offset. It's like, well, how do we mess this up? Because I know we measured it right. Because I was very careful about measuring things and then laying it out on that drawing. But yet we messed it up not once, not twice, but 3 times, to the point where we're looking at the number of pieces of siding we got left and we don't have enough to mess up another one. So my uncle, my dad's younger brother, happened to come by when we're being very, very frustrated with that. And he showed us how to do it in one cut, got it all done, put it up, and it matched perfectly. We weren't taking the piece of wood and turning it over like we should have because we didn't know. We weren't the experts in how to do this kind of work. But my uncle, he did know how to do it. So us being the jack of all trades, we knew how to hammer and nail and we knew how to saw, but we didn't know the details. We didn't know how to make that piece of siding work. We just couldn't do it. So that got me thinking that, Dad's kind of right. It's handy if you know a little bit about a lot of subjects. If you're going to play trivia, then that's awesome. But if you're going to do something meaningful, you need to be the expert at it. You need to know all the details, just like my uncle did. He knew how to do that piece of siding with no trouble. So what it comes down to is you as a food truck owner are going to wear many hats. And some of those hats are just not going to fit well, because you're not going to be the expert at it. You're just going to kind of get by, but you're going to run into those circumstances where you're going to have to cut out that window and that piece of siding, and it's just not going to fit. You may end up making it work, but it won't be efficient. It won't be what you need to get out of whatever you're trying to do. So it's not a ding against you if you can't do 100% of all the different tasks that had to be done in your food truck. Most likely you got into the food truck business because probably you're a really, really good cook. And that's awesome. We need really good cooks. We need great food out there. But being a great cook doesn't necessarily mean you understand accounting or marketing or taxes. There's a lot of other elements that are very, very important to operating a successful business. So there's nothing wrong with you turning to the experts. When you turn to the expert that has specialized, they are not the jack of all trades. They are the specialty. They are the focused and special person to deal with a certain subject. So, for example, you have a problem with your food cost and you're just not understanding the numbers. You may want to talk to somebody that can help you understand those numbers, taking you from being the jack of all trades when it comes to being a food truck owner into being a focused, I understand the accounting behind how to do my food costs and all the other expenses. So you may need to talk to an accountant. Let them be the expert in an area that you're not the expert. If you're having trouble with branding or you're having trouble with marketing, and let me tell you how you know you have a trouble with marketing, you're not as busy as you should be. There are people that call me up and tell me that I'm just not going to make it. I'm not doing enough in sales. You have a marketing problem. There is no other way of saying that. You have a marketing problem. Now, if you are super busy to the point where you can't bring any more people into your business because you're handling, let's say, 60 people an hour every single hour that you're open, and you still aren't making money, well, now you've got an operations problem. And we can talk about how to improve those operations so you're not wasting money. But unless you know where your problems lie, you don't know which expert to turn to. Typically not making money is because you're not making sales. So you need someone that's focused on marketing or social media or somebody that does that kind of stuff day in and day out. And there are people at all price levels. Just because you're not making money doesn't mean that you can't afford to pay someone to help you in the short term. Now, the trick is when you pay them, you got to do what they tell you to do. I've got people that are paying me money because they're not making any money. And they know that if they don't start doing something now, they're going to end up having to close down and sell out. Problem is they pay me money to help them and then they don't do what I tell them to do. They don't think it'll work. No, it's too much work. I can't do that. I don't know how. If you don't know how, find someone that does know how. Ask me. I can tell you how to do most things. Because over the years, I've gone from being a jack of all trades to being an expert at a whole bunch of different subjects that deal with what? Being a food truck owner that has success. You've got to get out of this, well, I can do it all. Because you can't. There are certain things that we all have limitations on. And that doesn't mean we're bad people. It doesn't mean that we're not good human beings. What it means is we recognize that there are other people that are better at certain tasks. We should ask them to help us. So don't be afraid of, number one, admitting you got a problem. And then number two, finding the best possible solution for that problem. Find that expert in that area. And then listen to what they have to say. One of the biggest challenges that food truck owners have, and this is something that we see almost from day one, when we talk about what's on your menu, and you guys have heard me say this many times, I get writer's cramp writing all the information down. They say what's going to be on their menu. You want to focus your menu. You cannot be a cooking jack of all trades. Get that 3, 4, 5 things that you really, really are awesome at so that your guests, they can also be focused on, when I want a burger, this is the one place I want to go. When I want lasagna, this is the one place I want to go because theirs is like no other. Remember, people are going to eat different things. So you're not going to serve the one guest 3 times a day. They're not going to. But what you want to do is get that one guest that when they have that desire for your specialty, they come to you because no one else does what you do. It doesn't have to be something exotic. There's a food truck that specializes in eggs. They're called Eggman, and the guy's doing awesome. There's a truck in Canada that specializes in smash burgers. There's a million smash burger trucks. But you know what? They're quite busy. They are so busy that they have lines all day long. You're allowed to be special. You're allowed to focus on one particular product. You don't have to be the cooking jack of all trades. And when something happens in your business that you don't know, it's okay to ask for help. You can allow yourself to be the best food truck operator in the world, but still get advice from marketing people, from tax people, from accountants, from attorneys when you need it, from insurance people. You don't have to know everything, but you do have to recognize when you don't know something and then where to find that information. You don't have to be the HVAC person. You don't have to be the one to redo the refrigeration. You don't have to be the one to put the Freon into your refrigerators. You don't have to be the one to figure out the propane. But you do have to be the one to figure out who the expert is in those areas and then have them come in and help you out. Yes, when you hire an expert, you're going to be paying some money for it. But you know what? That money is an investment. It's an investment in your business. Keep it up, keep it operational. Now tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about focus. So today we've been a jack of all trades and talking about why you should not be one. Tomorrow we're going to talk about why you should focus on what you do best. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. Please take a moment to follow our podcast, and if you really like what we do, show us a little bit of support. There's links in the description to make that happen. Every little bit does help keep us going. Until next time, you guys have a profitable day.